Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today I'm going to play e5 against the move c4. We're going for a kind of reverse Sicilian setup here. This is as close as I can really get to playing the move e4 without the white pieces. And of course, knight to f6 is going to be a nice open Sicilian. Of course, this is, rotationally symmetric. We are effectively a tempo down in a Sicilian. However, given that I normally play the Mengarini as white, I'm pretty used to that. Now, we'll take in the center with the knight. I'd imagine we see bishop g2, or okay, of course, knight to f3, equally valid first. Knight c6 here, and the general setup I'm going to go for is some kind of bishop e6, queen d7, Kingside, which by I mean queenside castles, looking to form a battery towards this h3 hole here, trying to trade off that light squared bishop from where my opponent is almost certainly going to be castled. I mean, this move g3 has created some weak light squares, so why don't we try and get in on said squares and then start some fat pawn storm towards our opponent's king. So, bishop e6 to start with. There is a small caveat to playing bishop e6 here, and that is the fact that the move knight to g5 is not immediately possible. If it were, that would be really annoying, and in fact my opponent plays d3 now, and it becomes possible. I'd really rather not trade off this light squared bishop, and if I move it, then I'm going to end up losing a knight in the center. So here is where I'm going to play f6, not only stabilizing my own center, but preventing that knight g5 as my opponent castles kingside, and preparing this beautiful g5 pawn push, which will be the start of my big kingside pawn storm. In many ways, this f6 move is one of the most multifaceted moves that I play ever really in chess, and of course it's analog f3 when I'm playing this as white, which is far more common. However, a lot of people, including myself, are generally kind of a little annoyed when you see the English. I mean, why the hell are you playing in English? Play e4 or d4. Like, do you think you're special or something? Anyway, let's play queenside castles. We've got our opposite side castling position primed and ready to go for a bit of expansion. I won't be surprised if we see a3 and b4 from our opponent. I mean, as if by magic, a3 immediately played. Let's get our move g5 in nice and quickly. Excuse me if you can hear sirens. The police are after me for crimes on the chessboard, and you're about to see a perfect example of one of those. A brutal murder. Anyway, okay, we'll take here. This trade is interesting. I don't know if they're going to play e4 at some point. Actually, sorry, no, it's rather transparent as to why they did that trade. It's because they want to play b4, but of course don't want to hang a knight, so they trade off first, then play b4. Now, I'm not particularly worried. I'm going to carry on with my beautiful expansion like this, and there's a key difference here that gives me a lot of confidence in my position, and that is that my pawns here are unperturbed, whereas my opponents, I mean, they started very early by playing the move g3. Now, this g3 move is almost certainly going to act as a hook, which we're going to be able to, hook onto to force open a file, or should they push past, that will hang, and should they not do anything, we can take, and should they take, we can take and open the g file. Effectively, we're going to be able to force some tension here between the pawns, whereas our opponent, maybe if they stepped forward, we move the knight, and they step forward again, we could push past in some way, or maybe take and push past later. So in general, not pushing the pawns in front of the king makes it a little harder for you to kind of force open files with your own pawns. However, this move queen a4 is a little annoying. They're planning to play b5, remove the knight, and then take on a7, which will of course be threatening a mate. I mean, unless I play knight b8, but again, it's not exactly ideal. So do I go for king b8? Maybe we see some kind of e4 and bishop e3, or just bishop e3 straight away. Maybe I end up having to push one of these pawns. I think I'll start with king b8 though. I think holding a7, preventing b5 from being so effective is going to be awesome. And if they do play b5, then I'm thinking, okay, this is annoying. This is annoying. They go for bishop e3 straight away. This might be convincing. All that stuff I just said about how healthy my pawn structure was, I may have to now play b6 or a6 so as not to get brutally checkmated. Now, of course, my knight's here for now, but they will be able to play b5. I would love, had they played, I don't know, just one slower move like a rook here maybe, or had they played b5 first, kicked my knight, and then bishop here, I would have loved nothing more than to put the knight on c8. On the king side, there's that phrase, knight on f8, there is no mate. Knight on c8 kind of would be a similar situation here. However, I clearly can't. I guess a6, b5, take. I don't want to be letting them open stuff up here. It doesn't seem like the end of the world to play b6. I mean, they'd have to move their queen out the way, maybe back to here or something, and then push to bite on the hook, and maybe our attack ends up being a little faster there. Also, our bishop can drop back here, so for instance, if, I don't know, b6, queen a6, I maybe move my knight and play bishop b7 and try and get the queen out of there. I do think that maybe a6 allows them to bite here a little quicker. They're opening the b file very quickly, whereas b6, they do have to play 3 moves to create that tension, and maybe we get ours in first. Okay, I will play b6. I'm not loving this, but the bishop here on this diagonal, and the fact that they can't play e4 to remove it and, make use of soft squares like c6 kind of bodes well. Oh man, I don't feel comfortable with this. This is going against everything that I want to do, but unfortunately it seems somewhat necessary. Okay, b6 it is. Now, my opponent has induced b6 with these 2 moves. What I would say though is that the price they pay for doing that so quickly is that they hadn't pushed the pawns. I mean, they've situated pieces now in front of pawns that they very much might want to push. So there's this kind of lack of flexibility to their position, where, for instance, if they could play a4, a5 really quickly, I might be in a whole lot of trouble. But bringing the queen to a4 doubtless kind of is slightly at odds with the whole goal of pushing that a-pawn. Now, if you play a move like b5, I'm just not concerned at all, really. I could even go to a5 with my knight, potentially act as a blockade for this pawn ever moving in here. We can also step back with the bishop at any point, really. And although I've just been kind of defensively minded for the past few minutes, or I don't know how long that will have been in the video, obviously I edit these to cut out dead air, we mustn't forget that this is the characteristic opposite side castling position. That, you know, the victor is generally decided by whose pawn storm gets there first, and my pawn storm, we can't forget, I have the makings of a very effective pawn storm indeed. Now, where do I go with this knight? Do I go to a5? It makes sense. Do I go to here? Almost certainly not. There's kind of an argument for knight e5 actually. Maybe gain some activity that way, but I also really think that knight a5 is good, although then actually the bishop comes here. Probably rather not have to step back into b7, fianchettoing my knight, which would be intriguing. What are my alternatives? I mean, I could go here and then eventually put my knight on c8, just really try and lock down the a7 pawn here, such that even if you open this up, I can take back like this and just be, you know, holding out on a7. I really don't know, because I think there's also an argument for, all three of these moves. You know what? We're playing knight e7. The reason being that I don't want to allow my opponent to adjust this bishop from in front of the pawn, where I don't think it particularly belongs, because you might want to push this e-pawn at some point. I don't want to allow them to do that, at least with tempo, because there would be some massive tempo there in the sense that I really don't want to let, you know, knight a5, bishop d2, and then takes, ruining my structure, letting the queen in. No thank you. And now that there isn't an immediate and imminent threat, is it time to just play h4? I think it might be. We're the one biting on the hook here. Your queen's in your way. I am burning a whole lot of time, but I don't know. We've arrived here. We've arrived. We've got the reverse Nike pawn structure. Just do it, and I will take that advice. I'm playing h4, so they do step back. Okay, we are holding this. I mean, I'm going to take, because we've got the tempo of taking here. Now, do I grab this? Or sorry, I say grab this. Just go in here and hit the bishop. It makes some sense and maybe lets me play bishop here. So I think actually I really like this tempo. I mean, the soft e3 square. That bishop clearly didn't belong there really long term, and now we're making the most of that by garnering some tempo with knight to f5, so the bishop just steps back. There is this looming fork which I'm not particularly comfortable with. Bishop c5 is an idea though. I mean, let's just go for it. Why the hell not? It's a check. You can't push a pawn without it hanging. You come in here and things look a little dicey. I could at least play check here, and then have an unrivaled dark squared bishop. I think my opponent's king is a lot softer than mine actually. And if you step across this way, ooh, I might be thinking about some serious ideas. Some rook h2s perhaps, obviously not immediately, but... Oh wait, no, sorry, you go here, this is just mate in one. Oh, you don't have king h1. Oh my lord. You cannot put your king on h1. Because I control this square, the rook would pin the pawn here, and I'd have checkmate on g3. So if this is not a move, if this is presumably not a move, I can just take here. And again, takes, whatever. I'm just going to at least win some material there. And I guess this isn't a move, right? Because I can just take it. And I'm threatening a discovery, and there's nothing going on there. So you have to play king f1. Now that I know that, what's the follow-up, you know? Damn, I should have been thinking about that. I have this check. How convinced am I by that check? Here. You can move the rook, probably. I do really like it. Am I being stupid? Hold on, do I have like a rook takes here? Because if knight takes, I have a check. The king goes in here. Wait a second. Whoa, hold on. Rook takes here. If knight takes, I go check and you have to play king here and I get to... I've got to do this just for style points. I've got to do this for style points. I'm sorry. I have to do it for the style points. If you take this, I get 2 pawns and a bishop, and disgusting infiltration and complete decimation of the kingside for the price of this rook. I don't think you can take this. I do not think you can take this. And if you can't take this, then I've undermined the pawn here. I mean, of course you can take this, like it's a try. But wait, we just take here. That's 2 pawns. You've got 1 legal move. I pick up this bishop now. Unless there's a better follow-up, but I'm not particularly seeing it. I mean, again, you have 1 legal move, so, I mean, I might as well be calculating here. Do I have anything else? I guess I could play a move. Nope, that's an immediate queen hang. Right, we just take this, of course. I have a bishop and 2 pawns for that rook. This king is on the run, and we are swarming in this way. Now, the question is, do they have anything here? And the answer, I believe, is no. I mean, we're fantastically blockading this. There's no d4 at any point. We control that square with literally 4 pieces, or I guess 3 pieces and a pawn. The only thing that we are kind of wanting here is time. Do I take? Oh dear, I need to move. Oh dear, I need to move. Send it over here. Has to be. Has to be. Absolutely has to be. I mean, we're just throwing pieces at this kingside here, and I think a little bit of mature defense revealed that my opponent's attack was nothing but an ephemeral outburst, an immature outburst, and mine potentially had some legs, for want of a more artistic word. Now, what if they go here? King here, check. I guess just bishop here. What the hell is that? Did they just think they had no... Hold on, we have no time. I mean, I understand that was defending the mate. Did they not think... Maybe I'm missing something. I mean, can I convert this now, is the question. The answer, I believe, is hell yeah. You take here, check, here, check, here, check, here, check. Okay, I mean, we're clearly completely winning. I think we just walk in with the queen and batter you here. The question is, do I have a more accurate sequence? The answer, who knows? What if you just put your king here? What do I do? I think I just take this and everything just collapses. I mean, we'll look at the most resilient try, but I can't imagine it was queen c5. Do you reckon this actually was a move? Okay, they have made a move though, and I don't have that much time. What am I doing? Here, we're fine. I just talked about the fact that I didn't have much time and then started trying to analyze the game. I just burned 4 seconds of my 27 seconds. That's maybe less than wise. Maybe a little less than wise. Okay, I'm thinking also knight f5. 23 seconds and a dream. Knight f5 here is going to attack the bishop twice. Also, if you move the bishop, I'm going to be able to take on d3. You can't defend the bishop, can you? I mean, you could push the pawn, I guess, but we just, I don't know, take or take here and then take. Yeah, I really just think the pressure is fantastic from all of my pieces. If you take this, we take here with check, you're driven back. Yeah, okay, we can take on d3 and simplify. Nice. 22 seconds is plenty. Absolutely plentiful time. I'm going to grab this, honestly, and then take here with check. I just think it's the most forcing. Oh, no. Oh, wait, yes. Okay, we're fine. We're absolutely chilling. Yeah, we have queen g2 and queen d2, presumably. And then, unless I'm missing a more accurate idea, but you know, let's take the forcing win. Actually, is this a check that we can give? And then you go here, and then we give another check, and then maybe you go over here, and then we maybe give another check, and then you go here, and then we go checkmate. That seems plausible. With a healthy 10 seconds left, and we reach 22-31. My elo is looking oh so healthy right now. Everything's healthy. It's so healthy. We're drinking orange juice, which, okay, some people could question the healthiness. Cheers. Okay, so here we are in the analysis, 94% accuracy with 2 inaccuracies, both of which I will wear as a badge of honor. An absolutely nasty game of chess in which the first point that it strayed out of a +-1 evaluation, we then converted viciously to checkmate on move 35. Right, let's go through that game. Okay, so I'm going to keep the Masters database open just for a sec. E5 is actually one of the most popular moves here. 50,000 master games, we go for this. They play knight c3, the most popular move, knight f6, g3, and then instead of bishop b4, which is very popular, oh, I guess d5 is also extremely popular. Right, I mean, we're just playing some pretty classical stuff. Takes, bishop g2, or I guess knight f3 first, but then after knight c6, bishop g2, and we transpose back into 3.7k games, many of which end in a draw. I'd imagine the Sicilian is so theoretically dense that all these masters kind of just know what's going on. Knight b6, though, is by far the most popular move here. And instead of that, I went for bishop e6. Now, there's still 183 games here. They play d3, I play f6 here. They castle, queen d7, and then rook to e1 is the first point at which we seriously deviate. Okay, I mean, this setup makes a whole lot of sense. As long as you aren't deviating from, again, between that +-1 evaluation, there's really not a whole lot to be practically said about any of your moves other than the real questions on the board that they ask of your opponent. So I'm happy to call this a fairly perfect opening. Rook to e1 here, queenside castles, beautiful. a3, we go for our g5, they take, I take, they go for b4, I go for h5, and then this is where things got a little interesting. Queen a4, and I played king b8, which was inaccurate, and in fact not one of the inaccuracies that I would wear as a badge of honor, because it was a little passive and defensive. I instead could have gone for this, because apparently b5, I should have take here. Of course, if they take, we can take back with the bishop. Then if queen a7 threatening mate, I have queen takes b5, and we have a little space to breathe. And I guess we're opening stuff up here. Okay, I don't mind king b8. I'm not, you know, I'm not very sad about the fact that I played this. A little more defensive. They play bishop e3, which correctly mounts the very necessary pressure, and then b6 is in fact the best move. Oh no, it's not a6. Excuse me. The longer the computer thinks, the more the computer seems to just think that this is all zeros. a6, and there would have been some serious practical concerns after b5. Ostensibly, the best move here is knight a7, which is very concerning after takes, and I guess takes here. Excuse me. Of course not takes there, so I guess that's potentially a problem, actually. Damn, okay, well maybe a6 would have been more playable. Either way, I don't think this requires a whole lot of analysis. b6 was a very decent move, and after they played b5, we went back to e7, which was the best move. That I'm very happy with. And again, that central idea is really about trying to force the tension between the pawns. You know, I think this is quite a good example of the idea of a hook and the idea of biting on said hook, forcing some tension and opening some files as we did, and as my opponent was kind of too slow to do. They bring the rook across, I mean, it's h4 time, they bring the queen back, and we're taken. After they recapture, we hop in and threaten that bishop. Beautiful stuff. They step back, and this check is just fantastic. They instead should have gone back to f2, so we didn't have this check. I would have had ideas like take, takes, and knight d4 here, with the queen swooping in after I remove the light square bishop. Potentially even bishop c5 anyway at some point, bishop d6, maybe pushing this, sacking on here, who the hell knows. But clearly a very nice inbound attack. Instead, they went back here, bishop c5 check. If the king had gone here, this would have been a gorgeous checkmate. Gorgeous checkmate indeed. And in fact, the best move here was to take the bishop in the first place. That's insane. Maybe my opponent, when they played it, was the best move. The position is so dire. After king here, okay, this inaccuracy I will wear as a glimmering, glistening, gleaming badge of honor. Why? Because it's beautiful, it's romantic, it's undermining this pawn, it's letting the knight do its thing, it's the bishop slicing the diagonal here. Instead, I could have played a more accurate g4, remove the defender, maybe even then go in and take this, but purely because it's possible, we sack the rook, they take, check here, and we pick up the bishop. Our opponent brings the knight back, I slide in with the queen infiltrating, and they sack the queen, which is hilarious because that was one of the best moves. King here would not have done much. Apparently we'd have just had takes, and I guess if they take here, queen f3, and if you block, of course, this is checkmate, and if you play king here, oh my lord, then that's awesome. That's so nasty. That's absolutely nasty. Of course, the king was just getting hunted here, so instead they sacked for this bishop, trying, I guess, to flag me. I mean, I had 30 seconds. It was probably a very good practical try, but they bring the bishop here, and then a mate in 11. I take here, best move, nice. Opening up that queen f1 resource. They move the king. How is it no longer mate in 11? That makes no sense. Okay, it is. It's mate in 9. There we go. I take here. Again, mate in 8. The computer's bugging out slightly. Undermining this pawn, as I did with the pawn over here, undermining the pawn on g3. They go rook here. I bring the knight back. And after they push, I decide to take because, I mean, I don't really want to be thinking about potential discoveries. It clearly makes no sense that I was even slightly worried about that. But I just felt that simplification while I had 20 seconds on the clock was probably going to be my friend there, opening the rook up. And after the king takes, we have the check. The king goes here, and then it's mate in 2, and I managed to not play a mate in 2. What? Oh, there was just rook d2. And they have no way of stopping this mate. And if they, of course, go here, then we just take. Okay, rook d2 would have been significantly more simple. However, it is always far more nice and far more reassuring to give a check where they only have one legal move. Another check where they only have one legal move, barring the fact that they can just hang their rook. Another check where they have only one legal move. Another check where they have only one legal move. And then another check where they have precisely 0 legal moves. I.e. Shah-mat, as the Persians once said, and checkmate, as we say nowadays. The king is dead or trapped. I'm not exactly sure of the translation. So instead of a mate in 3 here, I chose a mate in 6. But, you know, that's pure style points. And a pretty ruthless attacking game of chess, with my favourite move of the game being one of the worst moves of the game. Rook takes h2. What a nice rook sack. What a nice way to infiltrate on the king side. And what a nice game of chess. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.